Today we are going to discuss about Doctor Faustus by Christopher Marlowe. Now, at the very initial state, I want to talk about Renaissance Humanism as an outlying factor to the beginning and the end of Doctor Faustus. Now, Renaissance Humanism transcribed to certain ideological change from theocentric worldview to androcentric worldview. First, what was a theocentric worldview? That God is the all-powerful being and thereby God controls everybody, and whatever we do is simply the act of God and thereby act of fate as well. So fate and faith has always been an underlying psychology in the theological background of medieval times. When Renaissance Humanism came, there was basically three particular trends that emerged through Renaissance Humanism. One, definitely with the painting of Leonardo da Vinci, Vitruvian Man. Now, what did Vitruvian Man actually put forward? That man is diagrammatically, geometrically, mathematically most precise, celebrating all the coordinates of perfection, and thereby he, as a centered force, has remained a powerful being. Now, secondly, the work of Niccolo Machiavelli. Now, Machiavelli has portrayed in his The Prince the ideal quality that a prince need to rule. Somehow that also was found very much into the works of Christopher Marlowe. He says that human beings, who is like the prince, quote unquote, will have to use three principal things. Number one, virtue, V-I-R-T-U with a accent over U. That is not virtue. It is the essential quality that you need to use to change, to subjugate and manipulate everyone to your side of the coin. Thereby, we also mean to develop that Niccolo Machiavelli as one of the primal Renaissance force that tells us that no, fate is only, that is the fatum, is only one part of the three-part tripartite universal factor. One being virtue, the other being fate, and third being necessita. Now, he said Marlowe has always concurred with the opinion of with Machiavelli, that is fate or fortuna can be controlled. It's not uncontrollable, it's not something out of control. Fate is partially controllable if you use the virtue to its utmost power. And thereby, Fortuna is being controlled by human. Last part, necessita, the uncontrollable part, is the one which obviously you have to be wary about, but not worry about. You have to be conscious that it exists, and the force that obviously underlines the policy here. So Niccolo Machiavelli's idea of virtù, necessità and fortuna has given Renaissance humanism a very new power to show that andros, that is andra, that is man, is at the center of the universe. And if we see all the epics, for instance, Homer's Iliad starts with Sing Muse, the wrath of Achilles, the man that is, Andra again, Iliad, and then you have Odyssey, starts with Sing Muse, the song of the resourceful man, again underlying the idea of man. And even Milton's Paradise Lost, for instance, which will be after this writing of Doctor Faustus and Renaissance period, also underlines of man's first disobedience and the fruit of that forbidden tree whose mortal taste brought death unto the world. So man is definitely at the center of the epic. And as well, if you see in Virgil's Aeneid, it says, Arma vram cano, arms and the man I sing. So you see, the epic has always focused on the idea that the man can do things which is impossible for other being, because man is the most rational, cognital being, and therefore he can control situation. The second part of Machiavelli's opinion is, of course, dealing with the man, the prince has to be lion and the fox. The bravery is very important when there are when you are hunting the wolves. You need to scare them off, and for that you need to be the lion, the scary one, the one who you will use every means available to subvert the plans and definitely the intrigues and the court politics. And then you also need to be very careful, like a fox, cunning. When you fight against your equal in force, that is if you are fighting against tiger, being a lion will not always help because it does not guarantee your winning. So there you need to be like a fox, trapping him. So a man need to be both lion and the fox, to be at its best, to use all his possible virtue to negate any possibility of being overruled or subverted through the court politics. Now moving from Renaissance to more contextual period of Christopher Marlowe, writing Doctor Faustus, of course. It is Elizabethan age, again filled with the barbed wire of politics, religion, and as we know that Queen Elizabeth was already in a kind of a dichotomous position as a result of Catholic and Protestant clashes that was going on. Marlowe, passing from Cambridge University, was one of the ideal of the atheist policy, which was neither properly, Catholic or Protestant for that matter. Marlowe underlines few basic things, that yes, religion is only a part of existence, and politics being also a continuation of religious policy, and thereby literature, the evolving of literature, will utilize the loopholes in both religion and politics to become what later Harry Levin quotes as overreacher. Aristotle in his Poetics has pointed out the very idea, eros ton adgoniton, the love for impossible. Eros means love. Eros ton adgoniton. And later on, the French writers, French critics, have used it as a l'amour de l'impossible, the love for impossible. So Dr. Faustus veritably deals with love for impossible, and his love for impossible is held up as a testimony to the fearsome idea of overreaching. Even in Macbeth, Macbeth says in Act 1, Scene 4, that, when he meets with Duncan, he says, in his aside, he says, there is a step I must overreach, overleap, or fall down. When he's, the Prince of Cumberland is not allowed to be given to him, it was rather given to Malcolm, his son. Duncan gives it to his son. Macbeth says that is a step I must overleap or fall unto. So that's the idea of overreaching. So we have on one hand Vitruvian Man of Da Vinci. On the other hand, you have definitely Niccolo Machiavelli's idea of prince, and I said there would be three. The third point is that of rewriting of the myths, especially the myth of Icarus and Prometheus. Icarus aspired to go beyond the prescription of his father with his waxen wings. It was melted, fell and died. So Greeks have used it as a precedence that, okay, fine, if you overreach, you will fall. Marlowe inverted this policy by saying that even if we fall, even if we die, knowledge is the be-all and end-all. For the sake of knowledge, death is even preferable. So he reversed the myth of Icarus, saying that Icarus at least overreached. Similarly, we have the myth of Prometheus, who stole fire from Zeus to give it to mankind. The fire represents, of course, the fire of knowledge, allegorically speaking, and Prometheus definitely uses this particular idea that to steal the fire from Zeus, is a tyrant, and give it to the mankind. So knowledge is not something that is to be there in the libraries of Oxford and Cambridge, but it is going to be there in the hearts of human beings. So we end the first part of lecture here.